Hello everyone and welcome to my video on adding buildings to your custom maps in PDSMS. Adding buildings to a map is something that SDSME could kind of do, but Trifindo's new tool now has a whole new way to create building files that's far easier. We'll start by opening up the town map I inserted in mapping episode 2.5 in PDSMS. So that'll be in here. So PDSMS. Okay. That out of the way. File open. Get out of here. We can go to desktop, get videos, and map editing, map examples, and testing done. There we are. And now I want to use this button here to open the building editor. Now what the program's gonna do is ask you for a folder that's generated from SDSME to use to fill in the information about the buildings that you can add to your map. So I can go to my desktop, but I don't have this folder yet. To get the folder, it's pretty easy. Just come back in here, and we go up so we can see SDSME, like so. And now the folder it's talking about is just the one that appears when you open up a ROM in SDSME for the first time. So I will come to load a ROM. Now on the desktop, I have an unedited Platinum ROM here. I always recommend that when you get this folder for SDSME, pick it out of an unedited ROM if you're going to be working with default buildings and townsets like I am. So I'm going to click on it, and that's stored here on the desktop. The folder will appear here in the same directory, just like so. And click OK. And it'll open, but I don't really need this, so I'll put this out of the way. Now I have that folder. So if I come back to SDSME and refresh, oh, there's no refresh button, so we'll go Documents, back to Desktop. There you go. So Platinum SDSME. That's this folder I just made. So I select it, and that allows this tool to open. Basically, Trifindo didn't want to reinvent the wheel since SDSME already dumps all the necessary assets and stuff into one folder. So as long as you have a valid folder, you can open this editor to use it, like I have here. Okay, and the main tab we're going to work with is the Map Buildings editor here. And what should happen is that when you get here, you'll see a 3D preview of your map, but you will only see it if you've already exported an object from your map file. So if I come here, if you haven't exported this button here, you will not see a preview here yet. So you'd want to close the tool, perform the export, and then reopen it, and that's when you can see it. Or there's also a manual button here you can use to load a object file from any map you've been working with already. But I just think it's easier to have an object already exported before you open it, because it's already here for you. And alright, so we're good to start placing buildings, but as I mentioned before, which buildings you can put onto a certain map is limited. Like if you remember, when we look in SDSME, and we look here at like Jubilife City, it's using area data 6. And if I scroll this down to 6, like so, it's using the tile set 6, which we've messed with before in earlier episodes, but also building package 0. And this building package is the portion that holds the buildings the map is allowed to use. Alright, and then PDSMS lets us see which buildings are in number 0 if we go to Building Tileset Editor. And we can see that there is one for each one of those building packages in here. And then the buildings inside of 0 are over here on the right. So really you just have to remember that in SDSME they're called building packages, but in PDSMS they're called building tile sets. However, as you learn more about mapping, if you get into more custom work, you'll learn that both of them are really just what's called the NSBTX. But you don't have to worry about that all just right now. We're just going to work with default stuff. So, alright, I got my building tile set 0, so I can use the Pokemon Center, the Mart, gym, various buildings and stuff. Very nice. And you can see that the doors and the buildings are separate, which is going to be a fun step. So I'm going to start with the schoolhouse, which is 17. And I'll remember 17, so when I come back to the map building editor and click add building, it's going to ask you which one that I want. But this list is not filtered by any tile set. It offers you any one that you want to do. But thankfully, the numbers are consistent, so I just come down to 17. 17. And there's the schoolhouse I want. So I click OK. And it just puts it right here in the map. Now, I want this to be in the upper left. And I can move it by changing the values in the X, Y, and Z. However, here is where that XY versus XZ talk I had back in mapping episode 1 comes into play. So we're looking at this in a 3D preview, as in we're looking at it from like this angle. So it's going to be the Y-axis that's going to raise the building up. I'll raise it up by 2 to be flush with my floor. Okay, and then the X, lowering the X, we'll move it to the left. Okay, like that. And then lowering the Z, we'll back it up to the edge here. So let's see if I left click and kind of drag around. That's roughly where I want it. I'll nudge it into place in here in a second, but I just want to roughly place my buildings where I need them. All right. So now I want to add a gym, which is building 8. So just add building number 8, and that's good. So 1, 2, and then I want to move it to the right, so I want to increase X, like so. Also, I can zoom out if I use the scroll wheel. There we are. Okay, then just back that up. Just like so. Okay, that's good. And I know I can use the gym because it still appears on this list while viewing number 0. It's important to always make sure that you're still looking at your building tile set when picking your buildings, because if they're not on the list, they won't show up when you load it into your game. So that's also here, but now I want to add gym doors. And thankfully they have mostly friendly names. So a gym door is 298. So come here, and that scroll way down to 298. Aha. Alright, so again, raise it up by 2. And then just kind of line it up. Okay. That's close. I may nudge it a bit later. Okay. Now we will come here. And on 0, we find the Pokemon Center, which is just building number 4. Cool. Boom, boom. And that's mostly in the right spot. Just raise it by 2, and then move it to the left, like so. And then, I believe it's called the P door. Yes. So we want number 70. Like so. Okay, 1, 2. To the left. And then bring it forward. There we are. That's pretty close. Okay. And then we will add a Pokemon Mart. To be FS. I'm not entirely sure what FS stands for, but that's the one we want. And that's number 5. Alright, up by 2. Move it to the right. 1 forward. No, too far. Okay, we'll leave it there for now. And then strangely enough, it also uses the same door, so it's just P door. I guess that's why it's not PC door. It's not Pokemon Center door. So we just do another 70. Like so. Raise it up by 2. Okay, so move it over here. And this one's harder to place, but now we're getting to the point where we want to really kind of finalize the positions of these buildings anyway. But okay, I have my buildings and my doors. Now, the school in Jubilife doesn't use a door in Platinum, so I'm not going to use one for this one. Just keep it consistent. But yeah, you can see that the buildings are kind of out of line with each other, so we do need to nudge them a little bit. And it's pretty easy to do. You can just go, if you don't like 0, you can go like 0.1 and click off of it. Oh, that was a door, so that's not a good example. So if we do like the Mart, do 0.1, it'll nudge a little bit that way. Or you could even do like 0.01 to really nudge it by a small amount. But okay, like any good cooking show, I've already prepared a file that has them nudged into the spots that I want them to be. There we go. Okay, so I have the secondary one that has the buildings a little more lined up than my version here. But it's a little hard to see them both at the same time, so I'm going to move this down off screen. Just kind of use it as a reference. So if I start on the school, I put that at 4.5, like so. I'm not just by a half increment. And then I did the Z at 7.6. Perfect. Okay, let me go to the gym. And that I put at 5.5. And that's it. The others are good. Just a slight nudge that way. And then for the gym doors, that was also just moved to 5.5. Okay, looking good so far. And the PC was at 6.5. But now it's the PC door. It's a little extra. That seemed to fit best at 6.5 and 2.039. And then a Z of 1.1. There we are. So what I'm trying to do is line it up with the end of this tile here. And that seemed to line up pretty okay. Okay, so then we have the Mart. Which I put that at a Z of 0.8. Which would better line it up with the Pokemon Center over there. Okay, and then its door was 5.5, 2.039, and 1.125. There we are. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, now there's a reason why I was being that exact with the alignment of the buildings and the doors, is I want to make sure that the buildings look natural, but that the doors line up, like I said before, with kind of the end of the tile here. I have put warp tiles near these buildings that will act as the trigger to send you to a different map. And I can show you those tiles real quick if I just click Save All. Okay, it looks good. And that saving, by the way, should add a .bld file to your mapping folder, which we'll need later. Okay, go ahead and close it. And then I can go to the collision editor. But okay, we're going to get into what each of these purple tiles mean in episode 4. But all you need to know for now is that I was trying to line up the doors with the edge of this tile here. For the buildings that have doors. And then this one here, you saw the school was a little closer to the road. That was behind the door for this kind. And then these team up with these 80 blocks. And these 80s are what tell the game that you can't walk through those buildings. Just like so. But yeah, for the collision tiles, you can't have the collision editor and the building editor open at the same time. So I'm just going to quick cheat the system here. Take a screenshot. Like so. Okay. Put this off to the side. I can close this down. Go back to the building editor, which it'll ask you to find the folder again, but it starts you one level in. So you have to hit up once, then highlight the same folder again, and then select, and it's good. And now when I come back here, the building should be okay. The buildings are still here. Cool. There we are. So push this over here. Pull this out. Blow it up just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so you can see that my tile here lines up with the beginning of this one there. And as long as the door is close enough to that tile itself will handle the animation of opening and closing the door. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that those numbers that I used were close enough to the tile so the animation triggers when we test it later in episode 4. Yeah, we have our school one, which is behind the door here, because that one doesn't have a door. And we have our gym one, which is right there. And our Pokemart one, which is right there. So if you're placing buildings, use my numbers as kind of a rough estimate to where to put yours. You can see why I use the Jubilife town is because, like, if you put down grass, you can't really see the grid anymore. But the Jubilife one still has the outline there, and that made aligning the buildings super easy. But okay, I have my tiles lined up there for the warps. I have my 80s that you saw underneath where the buildings are. Down in there, so you shouldn't be able to walk through them. So I think this building file is ready to go. So we'll save again. And just for good measure that we didn't really save anything on the main window, it's going to click this save button as well. Alright, get those out of the way. We will come back to SDSME to insert the building file we just made onto the map to use it. Now I still have that unedited ROM on here, so I need to load and get the map that I made in the previous episode. Okay, like so. And we'll just use the matrix editor to go to map 004 where I inserted the base of Testington. There we are, just like that. And all I have to do is come under this building section and click import. And then we'll come inside here. Map editing. And this is the version of Testington where I just saved that building file. So good. 327. Now it's like 328. Oh yeah, that's the one. So we just go ahead and insert it. Now it won't show up here, so it's hard to know if you have it all lined up right until you open up the ROM, but you can kind of see if you go into edit buildings and you'll see, like, okay, there's my school, there's my gym and the gym door, Pokemon, the center of the Pokemon Center, and then the center door, and then the mart, and then the mart door. So that feels good. So we can ignore that one and just save current. And go ahead and save a new ROM. And now we will call this Platinum Map Clean 3 map town, to show that I actually have my buildings in there now. And go ahead and save it, where it should appear over here. Good. Okay, I can minimize that. And let's go into opening Desmooney. I go File, Open ROM, and open up my town ROM. Okay, then, like usual, go to the intro. No info. Yes, Pokeball. Boy. Right. Where's my boy? And okay. So we come on up, and hopefully when we come around the lake and head north, we will see some buildings in the... Yeah! All right. So that's it. And you can see they're all nice and lined up with the grid as I wanted them to. And they're good to go, and you can't walk through them. Very nice. Let's see. Now, it looks like in the game they usually make it so that you can't walk on the tile. They slightly overlap. I find that if you don't put in 80 where these are, that your head will clip into the buildings a bit because they just don't line up right. So that's pretty good. Yeah, go through and walk behind it. That should be alright. Same thing with these. Go to the schoolhouse. Okay. Now, the way that things are is that the buildings in these warps will not work until we go through episode 4 and we actually set up the eventing that handles the coding of the warp. So right now I can't go like, oh, look at the doors, but they at least look nice as shells right now. But we have at least implemented phase 1. There are now actual buildings in my town. I am now the mayor of Testington with its 2 caves. They're the same thing. But okay, again, so this building file I just made is now included in the zip folder you can get from the description of the video. That way you can see it and play with it to learn more from there. Oh, but before I forget, one thing I should show you is the way that I kind of learned the placement that I use in this video is one thing that you can do is go into SDSME and find a map that you like. So if I come, now I'll come to the map headers and I want to look for one of the maps of Jubilife City. So I'm going to come here. So that is 003. That's these 3 here. So I'm going to take this one. Okay, 15. That means that 15, okay, yes, is the entrance of Jubilife City. And then if I look, like, edit buildings, see there's some already on here. What you can do is export, put it right in the desktop, and we'll call this Jubilife BLD. It sounds like a sandwich, but we're good. So save it, it'll appear right here. Okay. And then you come back into PDSMS and reopen that building editor. Okay, jump up 1, click on the SDSME file, which is here. Select folder. Okay. So if you come over here, I could do import BLD file. Then go to the desktop, find Jubilife BLD. Okay, now it won't exactly match my map, but you can use this to see how did they do it in the ROM. Like if I come in here and look at this Pokemon Center, which is PC, has the same name, and the PC door, you see that they use kind of the same exact numbers to line it up as they wanted. So I want to make sure to include that so that you knew that there is a way to use a reference. Like, unfortunately, we can't open a full map. Like, we couldn't just, like, export the whole object and open up the original ROM in there. That's a little complicated to do. What we can do, at least, is look at that building file so that we can see it this way. And it's super handy when trying to figure out how you want to align your buildings. Okay, that should be good from there. But yeah, that's all you need. So now we can move on to episode 4. We're to get into making these doors work and turn these into real buildings. So, alright, I wish you guys got a good night from here, and I'll see you in part 4. Good night, everybody!